Today I want to turn one of my new GISI styled blanks. Now I started making these a couple of weeks back, and this is about the 5th iteration of the blank. Each time I have made them, I've worked to make improvements to make the blank better. And you'll notice it's relatively square. The cap is a tiny bit narrower. There's a shoulder on either side. I haven't quite got the dimension perfect so that the cap is 3/4 by 3/4, same as the body and the base. But the cap is centered, so we're able to drill down the middle with no issue. I recommend using a set of pin jaws for this. We're just going to lock the blank into the jaws. I'm going to bring up my 27/64" bit, and I'm going to basically turn the headstock by hand and move the bit into the blank. And what I can see by doing that is the brad, let me pop it out of the chuck and show you. I had pre-marked the center of my blank, and the brad hit dead center. So we know that the blanks are perfectly square. The cap just needs some adjustment. I am working on the math for that, and hopefully we'll have it figured out soon. Even though it's not quite 100%, it's not a big deal because we can still drill right down through the center, and all of this gets turned away. I'm running the lathe at about 840 RPMs, and we're just going to drill about 1/3 of the way into the blank. As long as the chips are ejecting, I don't feel too bad, but when they slow down like that, I like to bring the bit out of the blank, and using a toothbrush, I'll clean it off. Now, I don't retract the tailstock until it's out of the blank. Now we retract it. I power off the lathe, and I'm going to reinsert the bit into the blank, and we're going to start with the bit inside the blank. What this does is I don't have to extend my tailstock quite as far, and that takes some of the play out of the tailstock. Fire the lathe back up and continue drilling. I find it's best to drill your blank in multiple passes, because if the chips pack into the bit, what that can do is burnish the inside of the blank, therefore making the hole larger than it needs to be, and the tube is not going to fit quite as nicely into your blank. As we get close to the end, we want to extend the bit very slowly, because we do not want to blow out the bottom of our blank. I can see the tip of the brad beginning to poke through the bottom of the blank. Let's get our blank removed from the chuck. We've got a nice hole straight through the blank. Let's head over to our bench and get a tube glued into this blank. I've done a little prep work to the tube. You'll notice it's scuffed up, and I've gone ahead and put a plug of Play-Doh in one end to help us keep from getting epoxy into our tube. We're going to start by taking a bottle brush and dusting out the inside of the blank. We don't want any of the loose dust in there, not allowing us to get the best adhesion of the tube into our blank. I've got equal parts epoxy and hardener. We're going to mix that up and spread this onto the tube. By inserting the tube in the bottom of the blank, and the reason why I'm choosing the bottom over the top is when you drill occasionally the entry hole will have a little ring that is a tiny bit larger than the diameter of the hole you need. So by entering at the back of the blank, I'm going to get the tightest fit, and then I can adjust the tube forward to where it's centered in the blank, but I'm not going to have any of this extra hole showing through or causing the tube to have an ill fit. All right, as I look, you can see we're just right to the edge. I want to center that a little bit, but I'm watching to make sure. See, I'm just below where the hole is wider than the tube, and it looks like it's relatively well centered. So we're going to set this aside to dry. We'll let it dry overnight, and we'll be back to turn our blank. I want it to stop and check my alignment. I think it looks pretty darn good. I've got such a nice finish on the blank. I'm going to go ahead and start with the 220 grit and just see what happens. We will use our acrylic block to make sure if there are any tool marks, we remove those. I sanded the blank to 600. We're ready to clean it with a little denatured alcohol. The denatured alcohol has fully evaporated. I have the blank between my non-stick bushings, and I have cleaned all of the paper dust off of the blank. First coat of thin CA going on. It's going to be a beautiful blank. I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off. We're going to run through our CA regiment, which means 5 coats medium, 5 coats thin, 5 coats medium, and then we'll return to take a look at the blank right before we begin the micromesh process. We're going to remove the non-stick bushings from our blank, leaving, of course, fingernails of CA glue. And we're going to use our disc sander with our sanding jig to clean those up. We're ready to micromesh, and this will take the orange peel effect out of the CA. Each pad gets 15 seconds. You can see the slurry building on the back side of the pad. That's what we're looking for. That is removing the top layer of the CA. I'm going to shut the camera off, finish out the other 8 pads, and we'll come back and take a look at our blank right before we wax it. Micromesh always makes such a huge difference in your CA finish. Let's put a little Renaissance wax on our blank. We'll head over to the buffing wheels, get this buffed up, and then I'll meet you at the assembly table. I don't think we'll assemble this one into a blank. I think we'll just recap some of the points as to the best way to turn one of these blanks. This was done for research and development, so I could learn as much as possible and share what my learnings with you. So I don't think we're going to put this into a kit. Let's talk about this blank. Overall, I'm very happy with what I've learned and how far I've come with making these GISI style blanks. A couple of things that need to change, and I kind of touched on them individually in the video, is when you drill these blanks, the cap is not going to be as square as the body. The body and the bottom section are going to be 3/4 by 3/4, so it's best to grip the blank in a set of pin jaws on your lathe and turn it, because you'll automatically find center for the cap. The cap is not as wide as the body. I'm still working out the math on that, but as long as the line down the center of the blank meets up with the chevron, that's all you're going for. The rest of that material turns away, and the fact that they don't meet up on the initial blank means nothing. When you're turning these blanks, always make sure you turn from the chevron toward the bottom. Whether you have your blanks set up to turn from tailstock to headstock, or whether you're set up to turn from headstock to tailstock, it doesn't matter as long as you turn from chevron to the bottom of the blank. If you don't, you can actually lift the material at the chevron and chip it out. And one final note, you'll notice how large the lower section of my blank is. I leave a little extra material there for trimming. One thing I didn't take into consideration is I centered my tube after I drilled my blank. What I should have done was push the tube all the way to the cap, and by doing that I would have had a little more material up here, a little less material down here, and the blank would have probably looked more symmetrical. I do like how this blank shines whenever the light hits it, especially the mahogany. Really beautiful. A lot of chatoyance. This was a fun experiment. I'm going to make some more of these, and I may make a small batch and put them on my Etsy store. So if you're interested in one of these blanks, you might want to go out and like the store and check back periodically. Not sure how quickly I'll have them out there because I haven't started making them yet, but they will be there nonetheless. And if they sell well, I'll make another batch so that everybody has a chance. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I've been having a lot of fun figuring out how to make these GISI style blanks. I will tell you there's a lot of math involved. This is about the 5th iteration of the blank, and I have learned something deep and detailed every single time I make them. I will be making another batch number 6, and hopefully that batch incorporates the last few details that I need to really make these blanks worthy of being sold to other people and turned by other turners. So if you're interested in turning one of these blanks, I'll put my link to my Etsy store in the description below. Go out there, like the store, and check back periodically, because when I drop these, it'll be a small batch. If they sell well, I'll make another small batch, and I'll continue to do that until people are no longer interested, because I really think you'll enjoy turning these, and I'm excited about making them and offering them to you. I have been sharing the details of this in lens videos or lens clips over on my Patreon channel. And a lens clip is a 15-second clip that goes away after 24 hours. But I've gone through the entire process, every single iteration, all 5 iterations, and talked about the issues and the problems and shared that with the Patreon folks. If you are interested, I'll put a link to my Patreon in the description of this video. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed learning how to turn these GISI style blanks. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon, and have a great evening.